Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Walu. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday between 1 and 3 p.m. I'm Joe. I'm a producer and co-host Alex Wong. I presume that now that we're back to 1 o'clock instead of the 10 a.m. start, you're a little more chipper.
Yeah, feeling great. TGIF.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good, too, actually. So finally, I wrote about Game 3.
What took you so long?
Well, I mean, number one, the real reason is the game ended at 12 o'clock at night, and then, I don't live downtown, and so I had to go home and then come back, and, we had work. We were here for 10 a.m.
Oh, you're blaming it on generational wealth.
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
blaming it on a lack of generational wealth, actually, because if I had lived downtown, maybe I wouldn't have to spend so much time in transit. No one wants to hear this, but the point is, there was literally no time, because I was literally recording the React Pod, waking up, and then doing React Pod Part 2. Okay, I sound like Ushers on Confession. All right. Then I went home and I was like, I'm going to write about this game. And quite frankly, there was just a lot to emotionally process, thinking about it, even listening to other people talk about it on the national media. And I was like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. Like, I know it's really, really terrible to be down 3-0. The mistakes, and I know I definitely tore into Nick in the postgame show, also in the show yesterday as well. And I was thinking about a larger picture. It's like, man, to take that team against what we can say very clearly right now is a much better opponent in Philadelphia. To make that game competitive, to get that game to that point where, quite frankly, if the Raptors star players even made one or two more plays, the Raptors just straight up win that game, period, and we wouldn't nearly be as down about it as everything else. It's a pivotal mistake. I get it. It's also a mistake that happens. You know what? Turns out that, of course, look, let's say Embiid misses that shot, for example, right? And of course, I'm not trying to play this some game. I'm just saying, like, people wouldn't be focusing so much on, wow, no one put someone on the inbounder? Someone put Fred in the paint? Like, you know what? Like, these are things that, when you look back at it, if you know that's what's going to happen, of course you can prevent that play. You're telling me Nick Nurse, in knowing that that's the play that's going to happen, wouldn't do it differently? He would, and I'm sure he would have some regrets too. But ultimately, like, it wasn't so bad. And if the Raptors weren't down 3-0, which, again, is another huge if, so I'm really not trying to come in here and try to pretend like everything's all good. But you did compete way better in Game 3. You finally got into the series in Game 3. You made it a game. It wasn't like the Sixers were just slacking. It wasn't like the Sixers were missing shots. The Sixers played really well as well, as they have all series. You were there, and now you're in a position where you can potentially extend the series. Now, of course, I think that's where the emotional aspect is so much worse. And I think, obviously, when you're dealing with athletes, like, you have to manage the emotion just as much as you have to manage the tactics and everything like that. The emotional aspect is you're down 3-0, you're down on yourself, you lose in that fashion, you play so hard, you're like, this seems impossible. Guess what? It's not impossible. You just showed that you can compete with this team in Game 3, and it might be inconsequential, but I'm sorry, as an athlete, as a competitor, I don't want you to think any game is inconsequential. People pay money to go see these games. And the crowd was really good, by the way. I know people got on them like, well, third quarter, people weren't back in their seats or whatever. Yeah, I get that, man. 15 minutes, honestly, if you buy anything at halftime, if you do anything other than use the bathroom at halftime, you will probably not get back in time for 15 minutes because the lines are really long. It takes a really long time to get back to your seat. There's crowds, everything like that. I get it. Even if you use the bathroom, sometimes you can't get back in 15 minutes. Okay, so please be a little bit easier on the crowd. The crowd was really good. And you know how the crowd was good? Doc Rivers had to run onto the floor, shake Mark Davis by the shoulders and be like, I want a timeout. You think he would need to do that if the crowd was silent? The crowd was fine, okay? But you have to get over the emotional aspect of it because there's always something to play for. And that's what I'd be telling the team if I were Nick Nurse. But apparently you have lots of platitudes from Nick Nurse from practice.
Yeah, so you mentioned that Nick probably has some regrets about that final play that led to the Joel Embiid game winner. He talked at practice this morning, said the Raptors missed a screen on the Embiid game winner, but there was also some concern that they would pass the ball into the paint. And when Nick was asked whether he considered putting an person on the inbounder, he said, quote, if I could go back and do it again, I'd like to change about 3 things.
Yep.
So I'm sure Nick has watched this play over and over again, like
Yeah.
everyone else in the past 24 hours. And, he probably sees the things that, he wishes played out differently, like you said. But like you said, these are split-second plays, right?
Yeah, and you're not going to take Nick off the hook. That's not what I'm trying to say. You like Nick is firmly on the hook. I think he talked about the missing the screen portion of it, right? Gary and Tobias, or Gary on guarding Tobias, he absolutely needed to switch onto Embiid there, which, look, is still not ideal, but at least you would have a man in front of him, and maybe you pressure the pass or anything like that. Again, these are all things that you can look at. You also give the Sixers a lot of credit for executing, getting the timeout and everything like that. Sometimes the team just beats you. The whole game doesn't just come down to that, though. Like, I know it's more simple like that. I think us as humans, like, we're looking for, I don't know, man, like grander meaning in everything. And in this situation, it's like, well, the reason you lose is because of that mistake. The reason you lose to that mistake is because you don't have a superstar. And the reason you don't have then you start to get more and more down on yourself. You got away from the play. That's one play in about 40 plays that decided the game. You didn't make that play. That's fine. The Precious didn't make the free throws. That's another point in which you could have made it. But there were so many plays down the stretch that the Raptors needed to make, and they didn't ultimately make. And of course, it's so much easier to put it on that one thing, and it's great. It's a very memorable thing. But again, you can't make it more than about that play in that game. And yes, you're down 3-0, but you have to pick yourself up and try to compete again. And quite frankly, if they use the same game plan from Game 3 and execute a slight bit better, I could see the Raptors winning Game 4. And that might be ultimately like inconsequential in the sense that you probably will lose the series regardless. But I don't want to see that.
Nobody wants to see a sweep. We've seen a lot of sweeps in the last decade.
Yeah, we have.
That have ended Raptors playoff runs. One person who hasn't watched the Joel Embiid game winner is Pascal Siakam. He said, quote, it's tough to look at it. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't change it. So he hasn't watched it.
Interesting.
Pascal also was asked.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting approach. Why would you not watch the game film?
Pascal was also asked about his takeaways from his personal performance in Game 3. One of the first things he mentioned was he didn't realize he only took 5 shots the whole second half.
I did.
I think we all did.
Yep.
Yeah, and he said that, quote, I've just got to take what's out there and live with the results. I sleep peacefully if I do all that, give it my all, and take the shots that I know I can make.
I like that.
And if they happen to go in, that'll be good for us. If not, it is what it is. I think the expectation going into Game 4 for Pascal, probably the same as we had going into Game 3, right? Take 25 shots, be aggressive, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I really like that he said that because that was the part I was most disappointed by. Like him, as I mentioned, and really when you go back and look at the film, it's like 2 or 3 plays that this happened. But like still, ultimately when it's on the line, of course you need everything to go right. Roll hard for the ball. Catch the ball, demand the ball. When you see Niang on you, take the shot and attack. When you see Danny Green on you, take the shot and attack. Raptors will live in, with the misses, man. You know what? You're the go-to guy on the team right now. You're the number 1 guy. You have all the right in the world to take that shot. You have a mismatch. I know Joel Embiid's there. Go challenge him. Maybe he blocks you, maybe he doesn't. But ultimately you make the shot. You make the play that is there to be made. And I know Joel was really good defensively in the game. On Game 3, I mean, he was tremendous. He shut off the paint. You know how many blocks he had? 1. One time, he blocked somebody going to the basket. 1 time. The rest of the time, he was scaring the Raptors away from from going to the rim because they were worried about getting blocked. How about you worry about him blocking you when that happens, but challenge him. Don't shade away from it. Don't have a situation where you only take 5 shots in the second half. It's not like he didn't have opportunities to attack. He did. But we were watching the play back the other day. It was like, okay, Pascal's at the top, and this time Embiid switched onto him. And then Precious makes a cut just to clear out some space to pull his defender to the opposite side, get to the dunker spot, very standard play. And Pascal's like, oh, let me just tee-hee with you with the pass. What? Don't do that. That's not Precious's role there. He wasn't cutting to get free to get the ball. He was cutting to get to the weak side so he can crash the glass. Or maybe if the defender rotates over, he can get the dump-off pass and dunk it. Don't, hit him with the tee-hee.
He really hit him with a 2-foot tee.
That was tough, man.
He could have just handed it off to him. They were right next to each other.
Yeah, no, take the shots. That's the thing. I mean, look, I understand, the pressure, and again, it's so much about like imagining emotions. And I'm sure for Pascal, he's thinking about, oh my God, I can't believe we're back at the playoffs, had this great season. And now in this moment to redeem myself, I ultimately do this. Like it's a lot of pressure. Oh my God, and B's on the other side, this and that, and the crowd, and I'm tired, and all this other stuff. I'm overwhelmed. It's still basketball. You're playing a really, really watched game of basketball, but it's just basketball, man. Just take the shots that are there. We can live with the results. I promise. That's
Yeah,
all.
no, I want to see that approach for Game 4, especially if this is the last game of the season for the Raptors. Like for Pascal, especially, like you want to go into the summer, and I know this is like the smallest of goals at this point, but you want to go in the summer feeling like at least in the final game of the season that you kind of just put it all out there, right? That
Yes.
you did play aggressive, that you did play the way that you're talking about you're going to play in Game 4. He also said, quote, cliche alert, we all continue to grow as players, and the playoffs are a perfect time to understand little things about your game, which is true.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what? This is playoff experience too, because you're on a stage where the other team, all they do for a week straight is look at your game, look at the tape of your game, practice and rehearse playing against you. Then they play against you like at least 4 times. They're going to really force you to develop counters and to be sharper in terms of the mistakes that you make. And when you're thinking about playoffs and the playoff experience, like that is what you go through. Like you don't get that experience in the regular season. Teams aren't taking this seriously. Teams aren't taking anybody that seriously. But in the playoffs, it's like you know what it's like. So the Raptors are like, so you've gone through the whole season, you've worked really hard, you've studied really hard, you've attended the extra sessions, you've gone to see your TA and you've done all the extra homework, you got all the practice exams, and you're like at an 80 heading into the final exam, right? And the final exam is like 30% of the semester, and then you bomb the exam.
You're talking about our producer, Derek Brandeo's current school year right now?
No,
What's
come
going
on, man.
Okay.
Nah, Derek's already in. What's he at? 26 now? 25?
Yeah, 26. He's back. Derek
He's
had
still
to do some
in
office
school
hours.
at 26?
Yeah, he had to do some
What's he-
office hours yesterday. So
Oh, okay. All right.
he's back. Welcome back, Derek. But yes, so the Raptors worked really hard all year.
Mhm.
Got an 80% going into the final exam.
Yeah. And then
They get swept?
and then they sit there and they're like, you know what? Turns out I don't know organic chemistry.
Right.
You're sitting there, because by the way, if I know who's taking organic chemistry, okay, you know what I'm talking about, okay, because I did too. So like again, I tried all semester. It was very difficult, but I was like, okay, I have a decent mark heading into the final exam. I sit down in the exam room. They put you in that gym, like at McMaster, for example. They had like a hanger, like a plane hanger, and then they would put like desks all over the place, right? But properly spaced and everything. And you sit down, and for organic chemistry, you're handed like a chemistry set, basically like a set of Lego blocks almost, right? And so some of the challenges are like, okay, so you have this isotope, and then you do this thing to it, and then it sort of changes shape and molecules, and you're supposed to build that set, use that set, manipulate the set, and then solve the answer. And I'm not even kidding you. I was in that room and I was stressing. I was sweating. I was like, man, I'm not getting this. This is really tough. I'm building the set, and then I look up at other people because I'm like, maybe I'm sorry. Listen, man, if you don't know the answers on the exam, maybe you look around a little bit, right? You look around. Everybody else in that gym, in that hangar, is just playing around with these stupid sticks on balls and just being like, what is going on? So that's the Raptors right now. They're failing Orgo.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Scotty Barnes' status for Game 4, because after Game 3, Nick was pretty confident in saying that Scotty was going to be back. But now Scotty is doubtful for tomorrow. And Nick Nurse from practice, according to the reporters, sounded significantly less optimistic about his availability for tomorrow. Nick said they're not going to rule out the possibility that Scotty's going to play. He went through a little bit of practice today, but they're considering him doubtful. Nick was also asked whether the fact that it's a 3-0 series is a consideration in determining whether Scotty can come back. And he said no. He said that if he's ready to play, he'll play. And he said, quote, I've been saying this team needs these games. He needs them. We haven't seen him at all really in this series. We need to see him. But he's officially doubtful for tomorrow.
Interesting. Do we have any reporters who may have seen him walk around again?
No, I haven't seen any walking updates.
No walking updates.
Yeah, no walking updates.
They kept his walking very, very hidden.
But this is the Raptors injury update in a nutshell. In 24 hours, it went from he's definitely going to be in there. Nick was like, we're going to have another weapon for Game 4.
He said he's the lethal.
Yeah, he said he's
Scotty's the lethal
yeah.
weapon. Oh no.
And now Scotty's the doubtful weapon. So we'll see. I would love to see Scotty out there. Think like Oren said yesterday, and we talked about if the medical staff clears him to go, then let's get him out there.
Yeah.
Get the experience, right?
I would love for him to get the experience. Again, like that's the whole thing. It's like, well, you played this whole year of development and you want your young guys to get these playoff reps. And that's the one guy you wanted to get the most playoff reps. And so far, by the way, even in a selfish sense, remember how good Scotty looked in game 1? I know we were getting clapped regardless. Scotty was looking good. So I want to see that again. Before, the offseason. I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we got swept, but Scotty had like, a triple-double.
yeah. Give us something to hang on to,
That's what I'm trying to say. That's all. But ultimately, the goal should be winning the game. Scotty would really help in that front. I think that's the thing to me when you watch back on these games. And I wrote this in my very, very late 10 thing. Sorry, I'm shameless, man. I'm a radio personality now. And listen, people transition, okay? Does Bill Simmons still write? No. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Asian Bill Simmons in the building.
Yeah, I'm literally Will. But in any case, like one thing when you watch back on the film, the game after and stuff like that, especially in a tight game like that, it's like if you were the other team trying to defend the Raptors, this team is very predictable to defend against. First off, if we're completely honest about it, they're not running a lot of offensive sets. Okay, I mean, obviously they have set actions, they run stuff, but it's like free-flowing, let's get a mismatch and then attack that mismatch, which is not like anything against the Raptors. A lot of teams do this, but let's say, for example, you watch the Warriors, right? Maybe they don't, quote-unquote, run sets either, but they run like off-ball actions that everyone's moving, right? I was watching that game yesterday when the Nuggets fell down 0-3. And the Nuggets played really well, but the Warriors just beat them. They kept giving the ball to Draymond. Guys would cut off the ball. Guys would move. Or if Draymond said it was to give the ball to Iguodala, and guys would move and cut and stuff like that. And because of the shooters they have and because of how smart they play, they're able to generate offense through that all the time. You almost never see that from the Raptors, right? The times you do see that from the Raptors is when Scotty's in the game. Scotty introduces this level of like creativity to the offense. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the idea that like, okay, so you have guys in certain roles, right? Like, for example, with Pascal, he wants to use his speed, use the spin move, and shoot something within 10 feet, whether using his length to shoot over the top of a guy or using his quickness to go for the quick shot around a bigger defender. You know where he wants to go. You know what he wants to do, right? You also know for Fred, he largely wants to catch and shoot from 3. He's a very, very dangerous three-point shooter inside the arc. He's not going to score that well around the basket, and mostly he's going to look to drive and kick out, right? For OG, he's very strong. He can definitely catch and shoot. He can attack off the dribble a little bit, but you can get at his handle. His handle is going to limit him, and to be fair, you can probably throw him off balance, right? And then with Gary, you know exactly what Gary's going to do. He's going to catch and shoot for 3. He's going to sidestep for 3, or he's going to come off the screen and he's get to the mid-range, step back at the elbow, hit the shot there, right? When he goes into the paint, probably not going to do that much. So these predictable elements. The thing that would really help to make these things work and make their lives easier so that they can do the things that they're really expected to do is for Scotty to be in there and use his passing, use his cutting to move things around. And even beyond that, when you see the Raptors in a zone, right, and the other teams, so Sixers are zoning against the Raptors. The Raptors' zone offense sucks. It sucked all season. I've said this a million times. I've wrote this a million times. It sucked all season. One thing that they struggle with, getting the ball into the middle of the floor. You know who's a really good option for that? Scotty Barnes. So I would very much like to see Scotty, even just back for tactical reasons, not just for the fact that you want to see him one last time if the season's going to end on Saturday.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like, their core 5 guys, they haven't played a single minute together in this series where everyone's been healthy. Like, they had those 2 quarters plus in the first game, but Gary wasn't feeling well, and then Scotty leaves with the injury. And we talked about in the regular season, too. I think they only logged about, 300 minutes together.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that I think the coaching staff and the team would love to see is just whatever small sample size it is, just see how those 5 guys can play together in a playoff environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Nick Nurse with the playoff cliche of the day.
Of the day.
He
That's
said,
tough. This is like soup of the day.
Yeah, no more.
Soup du jour.
Yeah, no more of the centuries. Just not in the mood. Quote, somebody's got to do it. And if you get to 3-1, it's not 3-0 anymore. And 3-1 has been done. So there we go.
Is that like a low-key shot at Doc? Is that what we're doing here?
I don't think it's a shot. I think he was just
What does 3-1
arithmetic.
has been done before mean? That teams have come back from 3-1?
Yes.
Or that teams have come back against 3-1 against Doc Rivers?
I see fans being like, "Oh, Doc's gonna be the first coach to blow a 3-0 lead."
Yeah, listen, man.
We're reaching.
No, listen. I
If
know.
it happens, I'll eat a hat on air. But please do it so I can eat a hat on air.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, what do you eat after your 10 Big Macs? What I was gonna say is, look, I know we participated in this. We're probably one of the, we probably peddled it too hard about the Doc thing.
Oh, us never.
Glenn, yeah, we kind of ran that into the ground. But listen, Glenn has done a really good job.
Yeah, he's Dr. Nurse. No, Dr. Rivers.
Yeah, he's fully Dr. Rivers right now, man. It's great. Doesn't Dr. Rivers sound like I guess it's like the Spider-Man
What, Dr.
villain?
Octopus?
Yeah. I don't know. Dr. Rivers just sounds villainous somehow.
Oh, 3-0 shows the best.
No.
3-0 shows.
I would love if it was a 3-0 show. 0-3 shows are terrible, man. 0-3 shows are tough.
So you talked about the Raptors doing a lot of positive things. That
They genuinely did really well.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And of course, it's going to get glossed over by the fact that they lost. It's going to get glossed over by the final possession.
It's because our brains are so small, we can only think about one thing and then make it about everything. It's okay. I get it.
So for game 4, if you're Nick Nurse, like forget about Scotty's availability. Like, are you changing anything significantly? Are you going with the same starting lineup with Kem starting at center? Like, what are you looking to change?
Yeah, if Scotty's not in, then I actually like Kem starting. I just like the way the Raptors started the game, period, in game 3. I think some of that was obviously the Raptors catching the Sixers off guard. I'm sure there'll be a point of emphasis for them to start the game better. But at the same time, I really enjoyed watching how physical they were with the Sixers at the start of the game. They forced a ton of turnovers out of them. They showed bodies against Embiid. They forced him to travel in quite a few times, played him in no crowd. They had good defense against James Harden. Like, start that again. And I think, honestly, with Kem, the one thing he does is he bangs Embiid right away. Now, he's not going to beat Embiid. He's much smaller than Embiid. But at least he's going to bang with him a little bit. Because later in the game, they're going to use Precious's quickness and his length to sort of contest. And Precious done a really good job. Probably done a better job. But I actually don't mind starting with the Kem thing. After all season of complaining about it, I'm like, yeah, I can see some merit in this. Okay, so I don't mind. They'll probably keep the same starting 5. I think, look, the Raptors were much closer in trying to build the right game plan and also executing the right game plan in game 3. And again, I know nobody wants to hear that. I'm sure people are like, what are you talking about? Just be miserable like you were yesterday. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. But I also had a whole night of sleep. And I'm like, you know what? It's not so bad. You know what? And quite frankly, game 3, well, this is what happened, okay? They did a much better job on Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. That's something we've been talking about coming into the series and also especially after games 1 and 2. Those guys had 107 points on 57 shots. I've said that more than I've said. You can say 25% on DoorDash with the code TheFan25. I'm serious. I've said that stat more than I've said DoorDash. Okay, salute to DoorDash, of course. No, but seriously though, they needed to stop their third and fourth options. And what did they do in the last game, in game 3? They had a combined 30 points. Now they still shot the ball efficiently. That's something you got to give the Sixers tons of credit for. Every single game, they shoot 50% from the field and 40% from 3. It's very hard to stop that. However, you have done a much better job containing those guys. And that is the key to winning this series. In addition to the fact that, you have to do a really good job against Harden and Embiid. Those guys are superstars. They're going to get something from every single game, right? Embiid in particular, he's a force of nature. But you have to stop those other guys. Those are the human beings on that team that you are like, okay, they're mere mortals, okay? And in that sense, the Raptors did a much better job. They didn't give Tobias Harris that much in terms of open threes. He only took 3 threes. He made 1. It was contested. You live with that. The thing that Tobias is probably going to hurt you on regardless is him attacking mismatches and switches. And, he's either taking Malachi into the post or taking Fred into the post, taking Gary into the post a little bit, scoring those. You have to live with that. But for the most part, you have to take away his open threes. It did that. And when against Maxey, you have to take away his transition points, you have to take away his threes, and you have to not help off of him as much. And I thought all 3 of that was executed on the Raptors' part. Plus, the Raptors also switched a lot of these screens, involving Tyrese when he had the ball, because what you were seeing before was Tyrese would get a screen either from James Harden or from Joel Embiid. And the Raptors, because they are so worried about those guys, and rightfully so, they weren't helping off of them whatsoever. So that allowed Tyrese Maxey to just turn downhill and get straight into the paint. And obviously, we know he can finish. Very crafty, also very athletic, and very tough as well. So, in one way to like actually limit him is just if you switch some of those actions. Now, it's not ideal to switch involving, let's say, Fred's guarding Maxey, and he comes off of an Embiid screen, and you're switching off of him. But you kind of have to. You have to show him that respect because he can also burn you as well. And then, of course, at that point, you have to really scramble and sort of get back into a better assignment against Embiid because obviously Fred's not going to hold him. But they did a better job of switching against them. And turns out that's what made the game competitive. It's finally you turn their supporting players from being stars in Philadelphia to being supporting players in Toronto. And if they can do that again in game 4, it takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of dedication. Those guys are very good in their own right, but that's how you make it a game.
Yeah, I think if they play the way that they played in game 3, there's no reason to think that they can't get the game tomorrow. And then, get the game to tomorrow. It's not the first to 3. It's the first to 4.
Oh my goodness.
That's all I got for you, man.
No, the playoff cliches are
The 3-0 bag is not
truly terrible.
The 3-0 bag is not very deep. It's really not very
No,
deep.
what else are you really going to say, man? They already said we're playing for our pride and stuff. And listen, the point about playing for the pride, that's the whole thing, right? Like, yes, you lose game 3 in horrendous fashion, right? You know what it reminded me of? A little bit of LeBron in game 3, right? Not in this scenario.
No,
not saying LeBron is Joel Embiid. This is not
like a Pacific Mall version.
Yes.
Of LeBron.
Yeah, exactly, okay. Right? Yeah. But ultimately, you lose a must-win game 3 on a last-second shot. Okay. How did the Raptors respond in game 4 in that year? They got down again. They started turning on each other. DeMar smacks Jordan Clarkson across the head in transition for flagrant 2. That's his last play as a Raptor. That's the last time he wore a Raptor jersey, was him doing that in that game, and then lay over in that game, and the Cavs just roll. I don't want to see that from this team. That's a team that didn't play for its pride. That's a team that let pride get into their heads. What's that line from Pulp Fiction? I can't even say that on air.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. F pride.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Forget that, okay? Just play your game. It's another game to win. You had a much better chance in game 3. If you had won game 3, which you totally could have, you would come into the game 4 feeling a lot of confidence. Make sure you keep that in mind more so than you're like, well, what's the point? You know what? Even if we do our best, they'll beat us. Like, no, you did very good, but you didn't do your best. They haven't beaten your best yet. So go ahead and do that. And if you lose, all the fans can accept it. We can all be here on Monday and rationalize it, and talk about how this is a great year and all that stuff. But right now, there's still a game 4, and go out there and do that, man. It's not that hard. You guys play basketball. I mean, that's not that hard. I'm sorry. I'm saying, like, it's not that bad. Yeah, you're down 0-3. You're playing basketball for a living. You work all your life towards this. You owe it to yourself to show your best effort.
All right, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, after the break, we're going to talk about Magic Johnson had a few words about Scotty Barnes' rookie season.
Oh, okay.
And friend of the program, Gary Trent Sr. is in town. So we're going to talk about that as well and other things.
Let's do it. In fact, let's get him into the studio. I'm your host, Willu. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. And before we get into anything else, we have a lot of shout-outs and a lot of thanks to give. So, Alex, go ahead.
Thank you to everyone.
I always throw it to you as if I'm not grateful, but I am. But you have written these out yourself, so go ahead, please.
No, you're the most ungrateful employee here. We know this. I'm sorry, man. I don't know why I always put out these lies about you on air. I retract everything I've ever said about Will Lou. Thank you to everyone who made the Raptors Show and Raptors Reaction podcast possible this week, including our producer, Derek Brandeo, juggling his student/work responsibilities. Shouts to you, Derek, man. Work-life balance at its best. JR, Ryan Fabro, Kyle, and for the last week again, shout-outs to Maria and Danielle. DT, Greg Sansoni, Pat Flash, everybody else supporting us behind the scenes, including a special shout-out for Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. I'm sure there are lots of other people, too, helping us out behind the scenes that we don't, shout out by name. So hopefully we get to know
salute the fans,
every
too.
Single one of you. Yes, salute the fans as well. Thank you.
We really miss an opportunity to collect the number of fans who come up to both me and you,
right,
at the arena or at the whatever, and then we just actually put their names in their Friday shout-out and actually shout them out.
Okay.
It's a lot of work, I think, but we also don't work that much.
Yeah, unfortunately, you've come up with this idea as the season might be over tomorrow.
Listen, man, we'll have at least a game on Saturday. We'll have some shout-outs for next week.
Yeah. It was pretty fun the other day before Game 3 when we were out at Jurassic Park, and then we came back in through the security, and there was just 4 Will Lou stands who had the spidey sense to know that you were there.
They were fans of you too, man.
Yeah.
We took a picture together. Shout out to these people. I don't know who they were. They said they would send me a photo. They haven't done it yet. That's fine. But we were all actually, I think they did send me the photo. My bad. I take that back.
Yeah.
But we were all they had these giant laminated printouts of Joel Embiid crying in the tunnel.
Right.
And they brought it to the arena. I hope Embiid at least signed it for them because that's gonna be me. That was me leaving the arena in Game 3. But in any case, salute to the fans.
Yeah, salute to the fans. If you've taken a photo with Will Lou, follow him on Instagram at WillLouFits and DM him the photo.
Yeah.
I'll check. I'm his social media manager. If you haven't gotten a reply from Will,
you're really my agent, man.
On Instagram, I apologize. Oh, by the way, to the fans, we're going to have more details on this hopefully in the next couple weeks, but we are going to be having a live event on May 16th for
that's right.
Asian Heritage Month. So it'll be
a charity event, by the way.
A charity event.
We are not trying to take money out this.
Also,
literally not $0 will be going to us.
$0 will be going to us. I think we have to mention it's not a Sportsnet/Rogers event. It's just Alex and Will
life event.
Alex and Will life event for Asian Heritage Month at a downtown location to be disclosed. We'll have all the details.
Yeah, just put it out there right now.
So save the date, Monday, May 16th.
In the evening.
In the evening.
Yeah.
So we'll have more details. But a shout out to all the guests this week for making time for the show. Alvin Williams, Mo Tequil, Blake Murphy, Harrison Sanford, unsubscribe to Inside the Green Room, Amy Audibert, Vivek Jacob, and my favorite guest this week, Oren Weisfeld.
Oh, he's our guest of the week.
Oren is amazing. Man.
No, I listened back to it yesterday. Oren was just
It's like we're gonna bring in Oren for positivity. Oren, how are you? Not great.
It was
not
so
great, guys. I took the 2 a.m. shuttle line. Lots of tormented souls in there, including myself.
Well, we have one more guest coming up too.
Yes,
Oren's partner in crime on the Wrapped Up. Sahal Abdi. So we'll have him in the second hour as well. But actually, I want to give a shout out of my own. We've already shouted this person out before, but so a lot of times when I'm going to work, I get off the subway at Sherburne and then I walk over. And there's a food stall there, the Korean food stall. What you know? Why are you looking at me faces?
Oh, no, I was just trying to figure out who you're talking about. Are you giving a shout out to Mary again?
Mary Soul Food Ticket. And look, I already shouted this person out already, but so because I don't know, man, because it was my mom's birthday, tomorrow, and I'm still thinking about what to get her as a gift and stuff like that. And because Mary is also, an Asian mom in her late 50s, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't know. I was just like, I'm just gonna have a chat. I'm not that late to work. I have lots of time. I got here at 11:30. I was like, I got lots of time. I'll pick up lunch. I'm gonna have a chat with this lady. And she is just telling me about how, it's it's still a little bit slow out here. I think this is probably the same for a lot of business owners, especially restaurant owners during the pandemic. She's like, I'm still a little disappointed. It's still a little bit quiet. And I was like, well, what are you gonna do if it stays quiet? She's like, well, no, I'll still be here. I got to make some money because my mom.
So this is us in the off season when we do shows. But yeah,
Yes,
go ahead.
keep on, yeah. But she was telling me, she's like, I'm still gonna be here because my mom has been pressuring me to come back to Korea.
Oh, okay.
Right? Apparently, her mom is 89 years old, living in Seoul, living in Busan. Actually, was it Seoul or Busan? I don't know what she said because she said, I don't know. Maybe I didn't hear her correctly. In any case, she's from Seoul. Anyway, she's like, yeah, my mom's been pressuring me to come back to Korea. She's like, oh, I'm 89. Like, come on, how many chances you get back? And it's like the pandemic has really affected her on both levels, right? Obviously, as just like a business owner, lose a lot of money that way. But also just straight up for people who live in very, very far off locations, it's been very hard to visit people. And she's like, well, I'm probably going to keep working here until the summertime, save up enough money, and then try to go back and see her mom. So, you know what? That's my thing. If you, first off, more than anything else, the food is really good. I really do get it all the time. But it's like the most bang for your buck, I think, anywhere in the city. Like, I'm not kidding you. You can get the daily special is probably $12, and you'll literally have enough food. It's definitely enough calories for the whole day.
Not for me.
Okay, well, for anybody, it should be enough. No, but seriously though, pay Mary a visit. It's just outside of Sherburne. If you live relatively in the area and you want to get takeout for lunch or whatever, just go to see Mary, and just know that if you tip or whatever, and even if you just send business her way, it's helping her visit her 89-year-old mom.
No, I love that.
In Seoul.
I love that. If I've had people message me on Instagram. If you ever seen me post a very up close photo of a lot of food, lots of Korean food in a box, that's Mary's Soul Food.
Yeah. At
Sherborne. No, definitely check that out. Great shout out. Anyone else?
No, that's my one kind deed of the day of the week, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson has a new Apple TV Plus series, They Call Me Magic, coming.
He said, I need to set the record straight on winning time because Jerry West is already suing that show. And me, even though I'm mostly positively depicted, I still don't think anyone's universally positively depicted. Which, by the way, also for these people, come on, there's something called creative license. Everyone knows that that's not actually you.
No,
you made it clear that that's not you.
I'm going to defend that, man. I think
what
if you're taking a story that is based on the real life athletes, you can take creative license, but from what I saw, because I bailed on the series after the first 2 episodes, they're going a little bit too far, especially with Jerry West. So I'm going to defend my guy, Jerry West.
Okay. Some of it is based on fiction. The other of it, if it's just straight up made up. But you can just accept that, right? It's just I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
It's not meant to be a documentary. In any case, that's fine.
Anyways.
So there's basically Showtime too.
Yes.
The factual version, according to Magic.
So Magic's doing, Magic Johnson, as you know, one of the best players of all time, one of the best tweeters of all time, doing a media tour, and he was asked by the Toronto Star about Scotty Barnes. And he said, quote, there's definitely a lot of showtime in him. He can do everything on the basketball court, much like myself. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He can make his teammates better like I was able to do, and he's a matchup nightmare like I was. Listen, I think this is not nothing. It's a ringing endorsement.
Are you kidding me?
From Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
So
now what I need Magic to do is go ahead and tweet this out. In addition
and
to
then tomorrow I want you to tweet the Toronto Raptors defeat the Philadelphia 76ers 107-92.
If they win 3 more times, they can advance into the second round.
Exactly.
But seriously though, I think it's huge for Magic to say that. I think it probably means a lot to Scotty for that he said this. And I hope word does get back to Scotty about it. I'm sure it will, especially in the age of social media. And it's you know how cool that is, man? I think, for Scotty himself, right? He's talked about how as a kid, he would watch tapes of Magic Johnson. I'm sure lots of people compared him to Magic just because of the fact he's a big point guard. Almost big point guards are compared to Magic in some way. But I think there's actual merit in this one in the sense that the creativity, the playmaking, as Magic said, but it's really also just the size and also the aptitude. He's got such a cool demeanor about him, Scotty does, in a way that again, I wasn't there to see Magic's rookie season. That was literally in the 70s, right? It was 79, right? I don't think Winning Time made that up. But in any case, it seems to be similar. There's a similar buoyancy in the way he's able to lift up people, and even thinking back to the stories about Magic and really going nuts after Kareem hit a game winner in game 1 of the season, and Kareem's yo, chill, man. There's 82 of these. It kind of reminds me a little bit about how Scotty would, cheer jump up and down with Pascal, or jump up and down with Fred, and they're can you relax? Like, wait till game 3 of the Eastern Conference first round before you do this with me. But no, it's really cool, man. I think anytime you get to the validation of the people you look up to, it's like it's really awesome. Because, you know, even for me, like, bro, when you told me, you know, like, yo, I see your work as an emerging writer, as an emerging blogger in the scene. Like, you know, I follow you. I'm gonna share your work, and I'm like, damn, this is amazing. Because, like, you know what, you know, coming up in the game, you were already established. You were in New York. You were writing in the New Yorker, the New York Times, and, you know, Slam, and all these big places. And I was like, damn, if I can only do what Alex does. And now I don't think that anymore. But you're here, and we're friends.
And now I'm your sidekick. No, I think
so. Eventually, can Magic be Scotty's sidekick? Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I think what you mentioned about his like infectious energy is really the parallel for me between Magic and Scotty. And that was one of the things I was so excited to see in these playoffs. And we saw, I think, at least one of them in game 1 was the Scotty no-look pass.
Yep.
He had this great no-look pass, I think, to Chris Boucher in game 1. And I was just, I think that, aside from the series being 3-0, aside from everything else, that is the most disappointing thing, like not being able to see Scotty play a full playoff series.
Yeah.
Because talk so much about house money and this being a development year, even if the Raptors lost in the first round, but you got to see Scotty play in like 5, 6, 7 competitive games, you talk about things you can take into the offseason, that would be such an optimistic thing to take into the next season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I mean, the series is not over. The season is not over. Hopefully, Scotty will play tomorrow and then maybe play another game next Monday. And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
One at a time, one game at a time.
Yeah, I would really like to see that. And yeah, for his part, man. I mean, like, he's had a tremendous rookie season. And I want to see, just like selfishly, I want to see more of it, man. Like, I can't, like, when this season ends, and it will, no matter when it ends, whether it ends on Saturday or ends, you know, somewhere down the line, like, I'm going to look back on this year and I'm like, damn, what a year that was from Scotty Barnes. I can't wait. That's been my number one reason to watch the next season for the Raptors, is what is Scotty going to turn into. And, you know, it'd be nice to see him one last time. I sound like Bilbo Baggins right now.
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I got a lot of my Baggins bag.
Oh, my God. Nothing really hits when it's 3-0. What are you supposed to do?
I try my best, man. You see the positive? I basically gave the team a pep talk in the first hour.
You really did.
Hopefully it's working, man.
And then during break, you're like, did that work? I was like, not to me. It's 3-0. Anyways, I do appreciate the positive outlook, the perspective. We have an all-time, this might be a new playoff cliche.
Oh.
From CJ McCollum of the New Orleans Pelicans. That series with the Phoenix Suns is tied 1-1, and Phoenix looks like they will be without Devin Booker for at least the remainder of this series.
Yep.
And CJ McCollum said yesterday, quote, "As I've told the team many times, a wounded animal is more dangerous than a healthy animal because you don't know what to expect." I like this one. A little different.
It's definitely different.
Yeah. What would you rate it out of 10?
It depends on where the animal is wounded. You know what I mean? Like, you telling me you'd be as scared of a wounded lion that, like, lost a leg somehow and is running on 3 legs as compared to a fully healthy lion? Like, come on, man. So I need to know where. It's not specific enough for me, but
okay.
Ultimately, I like this. I like the underdog mentality because every team in the playoffs tells themselves they're the underdogs.
Right.
LeBron this season was telling himself he was the underdog. LeBron, really? LeBron's like, hey, man, you know, just I see what you guys are saying about us. Just keep that same energy when we
the same energy has been kept. It has been kept.
So, like, I do find that kind of fun. It's something that resonates with every single athlete. It's just like, we're the underdog. We're going to beat the odds, and we're going to do all this. Even though sometimes straight up the odds are in your favor. In this case, for the Pelicans, I really like them. Like, especially in the second half of the season. I think adding CJ really helped, but I think they found their rotation. I like every single player in their rotation right now. And salute to the Pelicans. They've had a really nice year. You got Brandon Ingram as your number 1 guy. You got CJ as your number 2, right? But you got really good role players. Herb Jones has really become basically a Robert Covington type player so far in his rookie season. He's been really good for them. JV obviously is a capable option. Larry Nance is a totally different defensive option, but if they want to play small ball, he's a good small ball guy to kind of match up teams with. You know, Jackson Hayes brings a lot of energy and athleticism. And, you know, of course, I think offensively they can be limited to some degree, but they haven't. And quite frankly, I salute them, man. I mean, it's still going to be very hard to beat Chris Paul, but they have a way better chance now than before. Devin Booker's been amazing this year.
Yeah, shouts to David Griffin. I think he was given a really hard time the last couple of years with the way he was building the team in New Orleans. And like you just said,
he's a mass talent. Now, I think certain things like letting go of Lonzo, but then replacing with Devontae Graham.
Right, that was a miss.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, but
do you even see him in the game these days?
No, but I think that's why I want to see Zion back with this team. I think this team actually has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So we'll see, though.
I don't know. Sometimes the team works really well because the star's not there. Like if Zion's in there and he's not playing defense and he's plodding around and, like, all right, then whatever. Clearly they have a good thing going on right now anyway. Just adding a star to it doesn't necessarily mean you're adding a star to it. In the middle of a playoff series, at least.
No,
obviously Zion is an incredible talent. But, yeah.
And wanted to mention too, spotted on. So one of the favorite places, we always talk about favorite places for athletes in Toronto to hang out.
Yep.
And one of the favorite ones is, well, it's a really good Thai food spot, Pai, here in Toronto. And it's a favorite of many of NBA players, both on the Raptors and visitors. And saw them post a photo yesterday of Gary Trent Jr., Sam Cassell, Gary Trent Sr., and Alvin Williams. Man,
what a crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool dinner to hang out at.
Absolutely, man. You think Gary got to say anything? I feel so. Have you ever been? Oh man, have you ever been to dinner with when your family visits another family friend?
Right.
They're just chatting up your dad, your mom. They're talking to other dads and moms, and you're just sitting there in the corner playing Game Boy. Like,
why is it always a Game Boy? No matter if it's 1996, 2006.
Okay, in your case, you were playing the crossword, I guess. Like, what do you want, man? Does that feel more specific to you now?
No, I'm reading the newspaper. I'm reading Singtao. It's always a Game Boy at Dim Sum.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Always a Game Boy.
That's probably what this lunch was like. But no, listen, I salute to old friends and everything like that. It's really cool to see that. And quite frankly, my only ask is like, yo, can we get NBA players to leave the downtown core and go anywhere else? That's my question. Look, next time I see an NBA player in Kanji Queen will be the first time I see an NBA player in Kanji Queen.
Okay, right now, quick, if you're the tour guide for NBA players coming to Toronto and to get them out of the downtown core, right? Like, what is on the itinerary for you if you had to pick like 5 spots?
One time I want to see the NBA players at the Scarborough Bluffs or just in the beaches in that area. It's just nice. It's nice.
Just skipping some rocks, like you like to do.
Yeah, honestly, shout out to the Bluffs, man. Maybe go north. Go to the Aga Khan Museum. Really, really nice. Some really nice restaurants up there too. A lot of really good like Persian restaurants in the middle of the city in North York.
Let's go to the First Markham Place food court.
Yeah. Okay, I don't. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, they can go to a food court.
Yo, it's an iconic food court.
So they're going court to court, huh?
Joe's so hit when it's 3-0.
Let's send the NBA players to a food court. Come on.
I want to see the whole Raptors roster roll into First Markham.
Okay, me too. Actually, I would like that. Didn't Jeremy already do that for us? And then
that's 3.
Yeah, and then last time, I mean, probably go out west and there's not that many great spots in Etobicoke. I'm not gonna lie to you, man.
What about Apache Burger?
It's just like a regular burger place.
Really?
I don't know what to tell
you. got me excited talking about this because this was Danny Green's favorite spot.
I'll take you there.
I want to check that out.
I mean, like, it's nice. It's like an old-timey kind of establishment.
Okay.
Flame broiled burgers, but I don't know.
And then they can go to a theater and watch your favorite movie.
Yeah.
Everything, everywhere, all
Actually,
at once.
Go for the classic Etobicoke trip or date. Sorry, and if people from Etobicoke all know this one, you go to the Cineplex on Queensway. And then afterwards, you go to dinner at the Milestones or Montana's or one of those places. I'm telling you, that's probably the most popping thing happened in Etobicoke. I'm sorry to say, but that's the truth.
What about Fishman Lobster House? People in the
yeah.
YouTube chat mentioned that.
There you
as
go.
well.
Yeah, go there. Yeah. No, I'm serious. Like, just NBA players, man. Leave the downtown core. There's more to see. Just maybe not in Etobicoke. I'm sorry, bro. I'm from Etobicoke. Trust me, I know this. You just take the bus straight to downtown. That's it.
Yeah. That's all I've got, man. The last 90 seconds before break is on you.
Okay, I'm already do my very best here. So
You are doing your very best.
I know you're not. Yo, you got to step it up, bro. Second half, Alex Wong's gonna step it up.
I'm Pascal Siakam today, man.
No, stop
Game
passing
3
the ball,
Pascal.
man. I'm Precious cutting through, and you're like, tee hee. I still can't believe he passed it off to Precious. Like, no, listen. More than anything else, if Scotty doesn't come back, can I see Pascal Siakam come back? One time, I want to see the end of the season, All NBA Pascal Siakam come to the playoffs and play like that. I'm not saying that he hasn't done it before. I saw the 2019 run. He was awesome in that run. But I'm saying right now in this series in Game 4, come in and give us something, man. Be like, you know what? That was just one game.
Yeah,
But
I think that's
that's my number. Actually, beyond Scotty coming back, that's my number one ask for Pascal to play up to his talent, which he has the ability to do so. So we are going to take a break right here, though. You've been listening to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet FM 90 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday between 1 and 3 p.m. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong, and we are joined in this segment. We will be joined in this segment, my bad, by Sahal Abdi of Raptors Republic, one of the original members of the Slander Pod, which I feel like Assad gets most of the credit. And to be fair, I do invite Assad on probably more than Sahal. So that's my bad. But ultimately, there's two co-founders of that. There's three, I guess, co-founders to that. And I feel like we don't give Sahal enough love for that. So we will have him on the line, and we'll chat to him soon. But in the meantime, Alex, I know you're stressed because you got to burn some more time.
No, I got you, man. You asked me to step up. I'm going to step up, maybe.
No, I don't know.
So what happened? Because I know we were trying to book Sahal and Assad today.
Yeah.
It's tax season. Is that what it is?
No, listen.
Okay.
No, Assad's just busy. That's all.
He's busy.
He's
it's
busy between
season.
work. You know, it's a busy time in his life. That's all.
When was the first ever slander pod? Like, how did that just come out of thin air? Like, after a game, you just decided to slander an opposing team and it just grew from there?
Kind of. I mean, you know what? Part of the idea is like you take some of the conversation that's already happening on like something like Twitter, for example, and you like bring it into like a podcast. You know, of course, now you can't just like bring everyone in because then that's how you end up with Twitter Spaces, and we all know how chaotic Twitter Spaces are. But like, yeah, I mean, those are friends that straight up I made off of Twitter, right? I literally met these guys on Twitter, and obviously we're friends in real life now. But like, you know, we were able to just chat. In terms of the first one, I remember, honestly, the very first one I remember might have just been the Raptors beating the Cavs in 2018. It was like a blowout loss for the Cleveland. Isaiah Thomas shot like 1 of 15. And I think Malcolm Miller had more threes than certain players and some star players.
Yeah, that was he hit his first three in the NBA that game.
First and last.
Because I always remember, leave my guy alone. I just did the Oren Weisfeld grunt. No, I remember talking to him in the locker room after the game. He was so excited. So.
Yeah. Did he have the game ball? Did Kyle give him the game ball?
I don't know. But okay. So this is a pretty recent development then.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know, with the show, I mean, everything just comes essentially like made up on the fly. Like, I think that's the nice part about like having done so many of these over the years. And it's just like you get to make mistakes, and you get to make mistakes in like relatively more low leverage situations. Like, I think hopefully as like the show has evolved, but also like I hope that me as a person has evolved behind the mic. So like, I think the shows are probably way more mature now. And you might even say, well, some people are probably listening, like, what are you guys talking about? Why are you guys always talking about food and whatever? And it's like, no, trust me, it's gotten a lot better over the years. And you know, one person who's helped me do that is Sahal Abdi of Raptors Republic. Sahal, what's going on, man?
It's good to be on, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were just giving you some flowers because, you know, obviously, as we have discussed in private, you know, Slander Pod is 3 people, not 2 people.
Yeah, they know. Slander Pod, it's become a focal point, I think, of the culture of Raptors, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I think it's really cool what it's kind of become between. I'm not going to take too much credit, obviously, because I think yourself and Assad have kind of carried that load for the last couple of years. I don't know if that's been deliberate, Will.
No, cancel me right now. Cancel me right now.
Will.
No, it's because you also do a live show after games, man. Come on, you have your own reaction. True. You have wrap up, which you can watch on the Raptors Public YouTube channel after every game.
Yeah.
You know, salute to Oren. We had him on yesterday. Which, by the way, Sahal, like, can you give? Yeah. I don't know if like I just assume that you see Oren in real life, which probably isn't even true. But like, can you give Oren a hug next time you see him, man? That guy sounded really sad on the show yesterday. We brought him on. We're like, Oren, how are the Raptors gonna get back in the series and win 4 straight? He's like, and I was like, oh my god, come on, man.
Yeah,
this guy sounds like a trumpet in grade 9 band.
No, hey, I used to play trumpet. Stop.
It's not easy. You're right.
We're doing no trumpet signing. I don't see Oren as often as obviously I'd like to in person. Yeah. But I guarantee I probably will see him maybe sooner than you. Who knows? He might be there at Game 4, so maybe you can tell him yourself. But I think the funny thing with Oren is that his energy sometimes it's I think it's just him. I think it's not even like you're like I think that's just him. I know a lot of people that are just like, you know.
No, his energy is exactly at 50. Like all the time. Yeah, like it's just dialed right down the middle.
It's kind of like you, Alex.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I like I said yesterday, like he's the most. No one in Toronto sports media is more monotone than me, except for Oren. But Oren's just a really funny dude, and I don't mean that in like a bad way. Like he makes me laugh. Like he just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, I've loved pairing with Oren on Wrap Up Live for Raptors Republic. So I can't really ask for a better co-host or anything like that. So
all right, now we got the plugs out of the way. One of the reasons we brought you on, I wanted to do a little bit in terms of like a stock report, who's up, who's down in this series on both sides. Now it's only been 3 games, right? But quite frankly, it could only be 4 games. So we can do this exercise now. And so I want to hear from you. One guy in this series who has his stock is up. You felt a lot better about him after seeing these 3 games, and then one player in this series whose stock is down for you.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer. I really want to answer twice, but I know we're on a little bit of a time constraint here. But OG Anunoby for sure.
No, listen. Speak as long as you want. Alex wants to wrap the show as soon as possible.
Sahal, if you want to go through the entire roster, we can do that. We can also do this across all 8 playoff series if you'd wish. It's all you can eat here today for you, Sahal.
Love it. It's a buffet. Okay, so OG Anunoby, I'll start with. He had 26 points, right? He's 8 for 18. He's looked good. He's looked really good in this playoff series. That's back-to-back 26-point performances on a combined, I think it's 18 for 32 shooting from the field, 8 threes. OG's in his 5th year, and I think he's a guy that, going into the playoffs, we wanted to see a lot from. He was kind of that peripheral player that, Fred and Pascal have carried the load all season long. OG's been out at times. He hasn't really been able to gather his legs behind him and all that stuff. But I think OG's arguably been the best Raptor in this playoff series. So I think his stock is definitely up. And Toronto's going to need him to stay consistent, to kind of fight their way back into the series. I know you said only one, but I'm going to quickly say Scotty Barnes, because Scotty Barnes, I know he's coming back in game 4. And Scotty Barnes, people may take this as a little bit too much praise, but I think he is the engine for Toronto, much like Kyle Lowry was his 9 seasons in Toronto. He has very few, if any, glaring flaws, does a bit of everything. I don't know if you guys heard about Magic Johnson, what he said today. If you guys have already covered it, but
yeah, we did.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever an NBA legend can speak so genuinely and candidly about a young budding star in the league, you listen. Right? He said there's a lot of showtime to him, and it's really cool. And you know what the funniest part about this is? I think Magic probably only watched like one Raptors game this season. It was likely the Raptors Lakers game in March, and where Scotty had 31 and 17. So I mean, it's great. Thanks, Magic. Appreciate it.
Well, there was also the other game against the Lakers where Scotty had like 16 points, 15 points in like the first quarter alone. Remember, he scored over LeBron. He was like 6 of 6 to start the game, and the Raptors were up like 30-10 over the Lakers or something like that. Like he probably was watching that one too. So. I can see where
for sure.
Yeah.
For Magic, a guy like Magic, probably top 5 ever, maybe. To say this guy plays a lot like me, goodness gracious. I mean, if there wasn't enough optimism surrounding Scotty Barnes in Toronto, I mean, now it's there. Stock down really quick. I think it has to be Fred for me.
Yeah.
I know I was watching a bit earlier when you said the thing you wanted to see in Game 4 the most was Pascal Siakam kind of coming back to his All-NBA form. But for me, it has to be Fred, because people love to focus on the playoffs, but I'm more of what have you done for me lately in a broader sense, because I think generally the larger the sample size, the better indication you have of a player. And I think Fred struggled badly, man. He's you look at the playoffs and you say, well, Fred shot really well in Game 1, and then Game 2 and 3 were kind of throwaway games. And it's tough, because if you even look beyond that, it's pretty ugly for Fred. A lot of times, Will, we talk about soccer a lot, right? I'm a Tottenham fan. You're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro.
I know. It's okay.
Sorry, bro. Keep going.
There's no way you're doing this on here, man. We talk about soccer on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
And a buzzword that's probably used in soccer more than any other sport is form, right? What form is player X on? What form is this player heading into the international break with, right? And when you look at the form Fred headed into the playoffs with, I mean, you just go right down from before this playoff series. Atlanta, he shot 4 for 21, Miami 7 for 17, Orlando 7 for 19, Minnesota 5 for 15, Boston 4 for 13. I mean, it's been bad, and that was just 5 games, right? We're 3 games into the playoff series, so it's 8 in total, and you could probably say 7 out of those 8 games Fred didn't shoot well. So I think Fred's stock is definitely down, and I think he's one of the best shot creators on the Raptors. And I think you look at this guy and you go, you're not guaranteed a great game from Gary Trent Jr. He's probably one of the more streaky guys in the league. So you need Fred to kind of build that consistency into game 4.
Yeah, listen, you made tons of great points there. I think, let's work backwards on that. So on the point with Fred, I mean, like, when we talk about players having something to improve in the playoffs, right? I think it also is contextual, right? Part of the reason people are upset about Pascal is not like, hey, we're ungrateful about what happened in 2019 when he was the second option. He was awesome, right? But there's a difference between doing it as a second option and doing it as the first option. And we're seeing this challenge right now happen before our eyes. It's kind of the same thing with Fred. Again, everyone knows Fred is a Raptor legend for life. Even if he retired today or like whatever, right? Like, he's a Raptor legend for life. He probably will have his jersey retired here just based on how much he's done already.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the championship alone, right? But, like, it's also a difference. Now you go from being, the guy who is able to play one-on-one. You get Quinn Cook on a switch. You get DeMarcus Cousins on a switch. You don't get two guys on you like that. You get kickouts from Kawhi. You get kickouts from Kyle, right? It's different being that now where you have to just generate all of it yourself. And it's so much harder. I sympathize with all of that, but that's a new challenge. And when we've seen it in the series against Boston, and we're looking at the series now, like, there is a limitation to how much he has done. Now, can he get better? Can he improve? Is the knee 100% healthy? We all know that the knee is not 100% healthy. But at the same time, it's like there's also a limitation to what a player can do for you. I think the one thing with Fred that's been so impressive is his heart, his grit. He's willing to make the right plays. He's willing to take the big shots. He has no fear about that. But also at the same time, there has to be some limitations that we acknowledge. And I think you start to see those more clearly in the playoffs, which, I think that's nothing about Fred. One thing Fred does is he maximizes everything that he's got. He makes the most of it. But ultimately, it's up to the roster to add more talent around Fred. It reminds me a lot of the Kyle Lowry situation. Not saying that they're the same player, but it's the same deal with Kyle. Well, Kyle wants to play. Man, listen, I know people are complaining about the shooting percentages now. Go through and look at some of the shooting percentages with Kyle. Like, I'm not trying to drag Kyle under the bus or anything. I'm saying, like, for context, if you want to know how hard it is for guys when they come into the scenario, look at what happened with Kyle. Like, Kyle, bro, he had a 0-point game and a 4-point game.
No, I think those are
Fibonacci sequences, man.
Yo, come on, man. I think those are really good points, and that's the whole exercise of the playoffs too, is finding out whether these certain players fit into the roles that they're currently being asked to play, right? And I think specifically with Fred and Pascal, that's always been the question. Post Kawhi, post Kyle, like, are they being asked to do too much? Are they miscast in their roles in terms of the responsibilities that they're taking on? And I think it's a really good point too, like, we can talk about the individual limitations of Fred and Pascal, especially in a playoff environment. But I think the really good point that you make, Will, is that, you can also alleviate that by improving the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
Because the conversation so much of the time centers around, is this guy a number one guy? Like, is this guy, gonna be, can he be the starting point guard on a championship team? And sometimes it's not about just that player. Like, you have to have a roster that makes sense. And I think, if the only thing that comes out of this playoff series for the Raptors, if they get swept, if they lose in 5 games, is that they learn these things and they look at the roster differently and they look at how they're casting their players differently, then there's usefulness there too.
Yeah. And then the other point you made us, which, wow, I can't believe this.
Oh, no, we're not doing that.
That's tough, bro. We can't. I'm not living this down in the DM.
Oh,
no, but your point about OG and his stock being up, the fact that he went 20 points for 9 of 15 shooting, he went 26 points for 10 of 14 shooting, he went 26 points for 8 of 18 shooting, is what about OG makes him so effective regardless of the pressure in the playoffs? Because it genuinely seems like the pressure doesn't, even coming into this, he had no momentum coming in. Remember, he only played like 7 games post All-Star break. So, like, what makes OG impervious to this pressure where he's able to perform, and I wouldn't say even perform above expectations when the lights are bright?
I think the weirdest answer I could have for this, that's probably going to sound kind of strange, is that OG's coming into this playoff series and there isn't that much pressure on him to perform at this extremely high level like there is for Pascal Siakam, who, by the way, is still trying to kind of feed that all-NBA discussion that everyone's been talking about all year long. Fred VanVleet was an all-star this year. I believe he was on LeBron's team. And these two guys had fantastic seasons all around. They played a bunch of minutes, but OG's kind of just, like I said, he's just gathering his footing a bit. And he came into the playoffs where, I mean, if Fred and Pascal struggle, no one's really going to talk about OG all that much. He's kind of third or fourth in line. So I think that might have helped him. I mean, it's as simple as maybe there not being as much pressure on him where he can just operate how he is. But OG he's kind of stoic in his nature and in his personality. So he just seems like he's not really phased. And I think Philadelphia, their game plan between game 1 all the way to game 3 has been to focus on those two main guys, and Fred and Pascal. And I think they've kind of given OG some leeway to kind of do what he wants. Like we said, back-to-back 26-point games. He's not just contributing in the scoring column. I mean, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block, right, as well. So I think it really just comes down to OG being given that space from Philadelphia, but also on a personal level, that pressure doesn't just set in for him maybe as much as it does for Pascal and Fred, right?
Yeah, and I think for OG, I think it's so hard to get into their heads, but when they speak and you can hear his mentality and stuff like that, like he's just focused on winning the game. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, the pressure's really on and I need to make sure to do this for this and this and my reputation. It's like, no, it's a basketball game. Yeah. OG's gonna make the right play. He's gonna give his all on defense. And I'm sure it's like that for all these guys too, but for OG, he just doesn't look rattled. Like the enduring quote for OG, and I don't think he might get a better quote than this out of his entire, NBA career, which is gonna be a very long time, is just, I don't shoot trying to miss. Like it's so telling about his personality. And I think honestly for him, the stock is up for him. Alex, do you have a stock report up and down for guys?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Oh yeah, okay.
Stock up. I'm gonna go with Precious Achiuwa. I think maybe he struggled a little bit in the first couple games, but really impressed from game 3, what he showed in game 3, the 20 points, 6 rebounds. And listen, we were talking earlier, it's going to get glossed over because people are going to remember the signature plays from the game.
Yep.
And the signature play for Precious was missing those 2 free throws at the end of regulation. But you talk about development stories this year, and everybody is rightfully so excited about Scotty. I'm just as excited for Precious.
Yeah, Raptors aren't guaranteed a playoffs, but they're not like out of the play-in without Precious developing this year.
Right. And
you look at him, he's your go-to defender on Embiid.
Yeah, he's a go-to defender. The offensive game is still developing. We all know about the 3-point shot. And the fact that they're able to add a player to their young core via the Kyle Lowry sign-and trade, for me, is a victory. Like, that's a huge victory for this Raptors team. And when we start looking ahead to next season and reasons to get excited, Scotty's going to be at the top of the list, but Precious is not far behind for me.
Yeah, I like that, man. You got someone whose stock is down?
Stock down, so I'm going to need to explain this. So stock down, I'm going to go with Nick Nurse.
Ooh.
And the only reason I'm going with this is I think next time we get into a first-round playoff series, we're probably not going to spend a week talking about how a coach can win a playoff series.
Yeah, no Nicky Nurse, baby.
Yeah. Because
that was a little too much.
I know this is a very obvious statement, but in the playoffs, if you have the best player in the series, if you have the more of the star power, you're usually going to be the favorite and you're usually going to win the series. And I think the week coming into the playoffs, and we're victims of this, we were talking so much about
everything,
the coaching advantage, right? And how Nick Nurse has this history, and he was going to outcoach the Doc Rivers. And at the end of the day, for me, it's just more coming out of this series, really reevaluating how much you're going to put on having a really good head coach if you don't have the right talent to complement it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think the hype has died down a little bit. I still think he's a phenomenal coach.
Oh, and this is taking nothing away. I think it's just more like in terms of the storyline that was coming in, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so for my stock, I guess, because I'm looking at both teams. My stock on the Sixers side, who's up? It's Tyrese Maxey. Are you kidding me? Tyrese Maxey has been awesome. Like, I thought the Raptors did a really good job defensively on Tyrese in Game 3. The guy still had 19 points on very efficient shooting. You know what? And he's so super dangerous. Like, I thought the Raptors shut down defensively everybody in the first half. They were playing really great. And all of a sudden, Tyrese Maxey has 10 points a half. And I'm like, he barely even touched the ball. That's how deadly he's gone, right? So if he can actually be this for the Sixers, now you're really looking at, okay, maybe this team can actually make a run to the title if they stay healthy, right? So I think Tyrese has definitely been that guy for the Sixers. Who's down? Matisse Thybulle. Remember we were talking about, Matisse only has 1 of 2 shots for some reason, and he can't cross the border. How's that going to affect the Sixers defense? You know what the Sixers said? Doc Rivers was like, So Matisse not going to play on the road. He's not going to play at home either. We're just taking about the series period. Did you see him in games 1 and 2? He barely played. But they were like, yeah, we don't need him. And that's the thing. It was like, well, all this talk about defense, he's probably going to make an all-defense team and probably should make an all-defense team. He's very disruptive as a wing. But it's like, yeah, they're like, cool, we don't need you, man. That's cool. And honestly, it actually has helped put the Sixers in a position where they have offensive players who all score at all positions at all times. So all of a sudden, you don't have someone who's just helping off and clogging the lane against Embiid and Harden. So Matisse's stock is real down. But maybe this will change in games 3 and 4. And then, so Hall, the other reason I wanted to bring you on, too, was just to talk about, like, the team-building lessons here, too. Because now that we've seen the 6-9 strategy against Joel Embiid, does it make you rethink, hey, should every single player on the team be 6'9", or maybe we get, like, I don't know, some 7-footers on the team eventually?
As much as everyone maybe doesn't want to hear this, I still haven't abandoned the whole 6'9" everywhere strategy.
Okay.
I think it's worked this season, and it can work. It's just with a few tweaks, right? A little bit of a cop-out, but I think some key player personnel discussions are kind of going to be on hold until this playoff series ends. I know a lot of people have kind of made fans themselves, but also some media have almost, I don't want to say reported, but almost pointed to the fact that maybe some things need to change drastically for Toronto. Everyone's talking about that 7-foot burly center that Toronto's been needing all year. But I mean, Toronto was the 5th seed in a season where I believe ESPN projected him to go 12th. So, I mean, this was a great overall year. And I know it's hard for fans and sometimes even media alike to look at this season from a macro perspective, but this has been a really, really good year for Toronto. I think you can't generate a full conclusion, or at this rate, an autopsy of this playoffs for Toronto until you see how this series ends. The most significant observation, though, that can come, out of this is truthfully whether or not Toronto's competitive to end this series. When you look back at game 1 and 2, Toronto got the brakes beaten off them in Philadelphia, right? Back-to-back games, you lose both, and it's ugly. And people can whine and cry about the refereeing of the series, which, to give them maybe an inch of credit, has been a little strange at points in this series, but sure. I think Philadelphia has also thoroughly outplayed Toronto in this series as well. I think you can definitely say that. You can't really tell me if the Raptors lose the series 4-0 or 4-1 and Philly ends it in their home arena, let's say in Philadelphia, that, the 76ers 6-man was the referees and that won them the series. No, I don't think that's the case at all. Toronto has not played well in the series. It's just a fact. And I think forget everything Philadelphia is doing on their end. It's the fact of the matter just remains. Toronto has not played up to their capability. And the one game that they did play in game 3 at home in front of a jam-packed Scotiabank Arena crowd, they lost. So going back to my main point, if you're Toronto, you need to end this series competitively, or else Masai Ujiri's previous statement of, when he said, quote unquote, no knee-jerk reactions in regards to his roster building process, that might turn out to be a smokescreen, or at the very least, the roster plan may have to be accelerated a year or two if this series ends very, very badly. Because then you got to think, okay, this 6-9 thing might have just been a regular season thing. Maybe we got to kind of switch things up. From a more particular perspective, though, Will and Alex, the Raptors just need a backup point guard. I know a lot of people talk about the bench as a whole, but from Fred VanVleet to DeLon Wright to Corey Joseph to Grievous Vasquez, all the way back to Jose Calderon, that little duo with TJ Ford, Toronto has been so well equipped at the backup point guard position. I love Malachi Flynn, but I don't think you can look at this entire season and walk into the 2022-2023 season and say Malachi is the guaranteed primary backup point guard behind Fred VanVleet. So I think that is a position that needs to be addressed. Because you look at the history of the Raptors the last decade, the backup point guard position has been one of the best in the league. I mentioned some of those names, and I think those are just a couple things that the Raptors have to look into, as well as fans. So
no. I think the backup point guard point is actually like that for me is like a priority for them this offseason. And it goes back to supporting your top players, and Fred just needs a capable backup So he's not being asked to play 43 minutes a game.
Yeah, what's the point of burning him out to get to the playoffs so that he's burnt out in the playoffs?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're going to run into this situation again next season, and then you're going to be like, oh, we can't really evaluate because Fred wasn't healthy in the playoffs. But it's like it's a problem that you created yourself.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to know what Malachi's done in the series so far? Other than pesky defense, which you got to give him credit for, he's been pesky on defense.
Has he scored?
He has not scored a single point.
Yeah.
31 minutes, has 2 assists.
Yeah, he's Matthew Dellavedova. Yeah. He's our Deli.
No, he's played in all 3 games. He's played 31 minutes, which is like 10 minutes a game.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he has not a single point and only 2 assists total.
Yeah. He's our Tony Snell. No, he has played great defense. Like he's played great
Jokes
defense
aside,
in
it's been
Spurs.
Snell-esque. I'm just saying, jokes aside, it's been Snell-esque. So no, you're right. Absolutely, we definitely need upgrades there. And I think, quite frankly, you might look at it. This is probably a secondary thing, but it's like, okay, look, I get the 6'9" thing. To me, I still want one center on the team, man. Like just one.
Mm-hmm.
Like essentially, the one center, quote unquote, is Kem Birch, right? You have him out there to set the tone physically. That's why you haven't seen him start. That's why you see him guard and beat and stuff like that. He's 6'9". He catches elbows to the face like every other game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you do need a little bit more support there. You need to upgrade from that position. Because also at the same time, when we play Kem, we also like, well, he's not going to score. He's not going to shoot. Why not? He's a 7-footer rolling. No one's ever guarding him. Like, I do expect some points from that position. So I think you still need to upgrade there. And then, frankly, you might look at the bigger picture. And I think this is where probably a lot of people are overreacting a little bit. But also at the same time, this is what people do. This is what fandom is. It's like, you probably need to get a true number 1, quote unquote. And listen, that's the most obvious thing. You don't think Masai and Bobby are like, hey, oh, wow. After this season, we've learned we need a true number 1. Like, people know that. These trades are really hard to pull off. And, you know, they've done it once before. You got to trust that they can do it again. Or they'll develop Scotty into that. But right now, that is the other weakness. That's probably the hardest one to address.
Yeah, but I guess my question to that, and I completely agree with you, but it's like, how many true number 1s are there in the NBA?
Like 5. Honestly, 5 at any given point. Yeah.
You know what? Because I think people want to have that conversation, and they think that all 29 other teams don't have this problem. Like, a lot of teams, even teams in the playoffs, are looking for that true number 1. And I think it's hard for Raptors fans, too, because we had a true number 1.
Yeah.
That led us to a championship.
Yeah.
And to set that bar for Pascal, to even set that bar for Scotty in year 2, I think is asking for a lot,
it's
right?
way too much.
It's
Trust
asking
me.
for
You're gonna crush yourself with disappointment, and you're probably gonna crush Scotty in the process. Don't do that to him. Man.
Right. So at the end of the day,
begging.
I think the majority of this core group is going to be back, if not all of it.
Yeah.
And next year is going to be like another development year for this team. And, you know, probably the more realistic thing people should expect in the offseason is upgrades around the roster, not a major move to get some kind of number 1 in. Right. So
that's true. No, that's true, man. Listen, if there's anything about a Masai Ujiri team, he's probably going to stand pat.
Well, that's the thing. Like when Sahal, when you mentioned earlier that if this team, gets swept tomorrow and doesn't really put together a really good effort, maybe they'll accelerate the plan of reconstructing this roster. Like I would push back because this is the most patient front office, and we've seen it, right? Yeah. We've seen them weather through the sweep to Randy Whitman and even some of the losses to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it took until that 2018 season for Masai to finally make the moves. So, and they're in a better position now. Like if you're able to zoom out and look at, the age on the roster, you can nitpick about all these guys' roles, but I really don't think there's going to be major changes if people are pressing for them this offseason.
I think Masai Ujiri almost created the blueprint of building a championship roster that doesn't include a top 3. I guess you could say Kawhi Leonard was maybe a top 3 player in the world in that 1 year, but I think maybe
he was. Come on, man.
He definitely was, but I think LeBron has been in the finals more often than not in the last 10 years. And I think you guys have a good point. Like Masai Ujiri and the Raptors since 2013, I mean, the wins have been 48, 49, 56, 51, 59, 58, 53. And then last year was obviously the anomaly, right? The COVID year, 27 wins. And then this year back up to 48. And that is incredible in consistency for an NBA team. Mm-hmm. You had 4 years of hovering around 50 wins. 2017, you were at 59 wins. 2018, you were at 58. And then 2019, you win the championship. So Masai Ujiri's patient. I think you do have a good point that maybe regardless of what happens in this series, he's going to stay patient in terms of what he wants to do. The Raptors, I think, from a team building strategy, from just a player personnel perspective, they are in one of the best situations in the league. You have a future superstar in Scotty Barnes. You have 2 all-stars in Pascal and Fred. And then you have maybe the best peripheral player or one of the best in the league in OG in terms of the fourth or fifth option, Gary Trent Jr. as well. You're in one of the best positions. Now all you got to really hope for, and one thing we didn't mention yet is just internal growth with these guys as well. You want to see these guys continuously grow. I think Pascal's closer to his ceiling as well as Fred, but I mean, I said that about DeMar DeRozan in 2015 and 2016, and then he just became this incredible playmaker that just, you know, it changed his game completely. He became so much more efficient. So, yeah, I think you hope for internal growth. You hope for the bench to be bolstered, and then you kind of just move along and see what you have. You also have the luxury of Scotty Barnes, waiting for Scotty Barnes, right? You can wait for Scotty Barnes, wait for him to develop. And I know, Will, you said the Raptors are kind of in need of that superstar, but I think that superstar is probably going to be Scotty. I mean, you could probably wait long enough for Scotty to be that guy, right?
Yeah. And this, the nice thing is you can develop him in the right way. Like, you don't have to give him too much expectation right away. Because I think when you do that to some players, like some players can definitely handle it. I'm not saying that this is some sort of like, you know, it fails when you do it. But like players develop bad habits sometimes. They're like, oh, I'm the star player. Winning doesn't really matter. We're going to tank again. They're going to give me the ball no matter what. Even if I make mistakes, I'm going to have the ball. Even if I don't play defense, I'm going to have the ball. It's like eventually they develop bad habits. And I think the Raptors bringing them along in a winning program is definitely going to keep them playing in this unselfish way, but also in this way that's super positive and bright. And by the way, and going back to this, the Magic Johnson thing, it's like, how many players in the league have come into the league being like, yo, I want to be Kobe. I want to be Michael. And it's like, yo, for real, that's really cool. I trust me, I would love a Kobe or a Michael Jordan on this team. But what I really admire is for a player to come in and be like, I want to be like Magic. Because you know what Magic is? An ultimate team player. That's really cool, man. A player comes in like with the aspirations to be the ultimate team player. That's really cool to me because you can be a star in that role too. Lastly, Zahal, I just want you to tell the listeners about Play Forever and all the stuff that you're doing there and just the stuff that your program is doing.
Yeah. So Play Forever, I currently sit on the board of directors. We are a youth organization. We help youth all over Toronto. We run programs all over Toronto. We're actually currently running, so we have things like, you know, homework club and stuff like that, and to just help kids at risk, essentially, all over the GTA in Toronto. A lot of what we do is in Richmond Hill, so the northern part of York region, Newmarket, all that stuff, Aurora. We're currently running a youth basketball league every Saturday, so that's cool. We got a bunch of youth involved in that. We also got mentors, right, from places like Seneca College and all these local colleges and universities to kind of mentor these kids on and off the basketball court, which is super cool. I would, you know, kind of direct everyone to www.playforever.ca. We have a great director in Mohammed Al Salem, who kind of founded it and then just kind of led the way. I've been a friend of his for, you know, majority of my life. So he's given me the opportunity to kind of be the community program manager and just kind of lead Play Forever. It's something that we're really proud of. It's something that we're building. We just solidified a partnership with Canadian Tire Jumpstart this summer, so we can run a summer camp for the entire summer. So we're excited. I mean, this is something that I love to do, and it's I appreciate, honestly, you bringing it up. I didn't expect that. Well, I love that.
Yeah, man. Listen, I mean, is there some way that people can support in any way, or any resources on that front, or even just like how do people sign up? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure parents are listening. They got kids.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to volunteer and you have a kid who lives in anywhere really in the GTA, you can head over to our website. We have a volunteer sign-up sheet. You could also email us. You could we have that email on the website as well, www.playforever.ca. There's so many options. We also have a donation page where you can do that as well. And I know a lot of people listen to this show, Will. Credit to you and Alex for all the work you guys have done to kind of build this foundation. But I will say that if there are any partnerships that anyone's looking forward to, Play Forever is always open to that. So
awesome.
Yeah, sure.
No, for sure, man. So listen, you work really hard. But thanks, I know, man, that when you do work like this, like your heart is full at the end of the day. And no, I respect you a ton for doing that, man. So follow Sahal on Twitter. No longer SAbdi28.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. This guy realized. Thanks, man. Finally.
Oh, man. I'm so used to saying SAbdi28 forever.
I got it, man.
What was the 28
I finally got the
man?
first and last name.
What was 28?
28? it's a very personal number to me. I'm not
Okay.
going to say exactly why
Okay.
because you know, yeah. But 28 is a very personal number to me,
Okay.
and
Okay.
uh, that's basically it. But yeah, I finally got my first and last name after reporting the guy who had Sahal Abdi on Twitter like 18,000 times over the last like 6-7 years.
God damn.
So I don't know what Twitter did with his account or what Jack did with his account, but
this guy said,
yeah,
this guy
finally got my
said
first
shout
and last
out
name.
at Jack.
Oh my goodness. All right, Sahal. Thank you for all you do, man. Appreciate you, and let's go Raptors for game 4. All right.
Yes, sir. You know this.
All right. This is a good spot. We're gonna take our last break. I'm your host, Will Lou. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. I continue to be joined for the last segment by producer and co-host Alex Wong. Alex, how you doing, man?
What's up? I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just want to know if you have enough energy to last 15 more minutes.
I got you.
You got this, bro. Come on.
I'm crawling like Leo DiCaprio in that meme. Matt Devlin, your Raptors dad, texted me at about 2 p.m. He just wanted to check in to see how you were doing.
Oh.
He said, checking in, how's Will doing? 48 hours later, he should be feeling better. I did say you're feeling better.
I am feeling a lot better. I gave it a little pep talk. Hopefully it works. And I wrote a more optimistic version of 10 things that I probably would have written the night of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was a benefit to sleep on it twice.
You did have 2 sleeps.
Yeah.
Before you wrote about Game 3, which everybody is dying to know your Game 3 thoughts today.
I had to calm down a little bit. But, I mean, no, for real. Like, I think, no, I'm feeling better. And realistically, like, if you look at that game objectively, I take the emotion out of it. You did play them close. Now, so you know it's possible. Will they do it again? I don't know. It's going to take a lot of mental fortitude from them to do so because it's such an uphill battle. But I still expect that out of them. Like, what are the Raptors if not, like, perpetual underdogs?
Yeah.
We face long odds. That's the whole part.
They've also lost their last 3 games when they've been down 3-0. The Herbie Coon shush.
No, come on, Derek. Hit him with the hit him with the Herbie.
Anyways, I was thinking about the conversation that we just had with Sahal. Shouts to Sahal, by the way, about like the Raptors needing a number 1 option. The other thing for me too is like your roster has to push the front office to actually make that move. Like they have to be good enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you cannot just say without context that the Raptors need to go out there and trade like 3 core guys and draft picks to get whichever distressed asset is out there in terms of superstars who want to move. Like when, listen, the Kawhi trade was like a 1 in a million type circumstance, I would say. Or like things lined up for the Raptors is what I'm trying to say. Things really lined up for the Raptors. And you can only get yourself into those positions and talk yourself into making those moves if your current roster is actually pressuring you to tell you that, hey, we're 1 move away.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the Raptors are not there. And the other thing I was thinking about too, in terms of talking about Scotty as a number 1 option, is again, I know nobody wants to hear this, but just patience. Like I think about Jason Tatum on the Boston Celtics. He's what? Oh my God, he's still only 24. Oh man,
I know, right?
Atlantic Division gonna be looking tough.
It's okay, the Knicks are still here.
Oh yeah, let's go. But this is his 5th year. And this is really the first year, at least for me, I would say, that he's like a true superstar player. And that took a little bit of the first half of the season for him to weather through too. Yeah. Because he was not playing the way that he is now, at the start of the season. And now you see him going toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant, with the Brooklyn Nets. And you can really look at that guy and say, wow, like he's a true number 1 guy on a contending team. Which is just to say, like, if we have those expectations for Scotty, maybe it doesn't happen next year. Maybe it doesn't even happen the year after. Maybe it takes 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. No, this is the benefit of this is what wisdom is in some sense, is that you have been through the other end of it and you can tell people who are in it right now that there's another side to this tunnel. And for Alex, who has lived 3 lifetimes now, like you have that wisdom more than anybody, man. People used to say George Mikan couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I was told George Mikan couldn't shoot a hook shot. Oh man. Anyways,
yeah.
So we were doing the stock report, ups and downs for Raptors Sixers. We got about 10 minutes here. Figured we could do that for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been watching the postseason.
Oh yeah,
diligently.
A lot of great games last night.
Oh, great games. I was watching, the Utah Jazz disintegrate before our eyes.
Hey, shout out to the Utah Jazz. Really taking the pressure off the Raptors. Nobody cares if the Raptors are getting beaten by 3-0 right now to Philadelphia. It's like, well, they're a young team. They've had some injuries, whatever. Like, Philadelphia's playing really well. They had the MVP. But it's like, everybody's just like, look at Utah. They're disgusting. And by the way, in looking through this now, I'm like, damn, this is probably what they've been saying about the Raptors, what the Kawhi and Lamar Raptors. They're like, wow, again, they're losing.
By the way, to all the American viewers who only tune in to watch the Raptors during the playoffs, yes, we did win 48 games during the regular season. We somehow did it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I'm sure they're all watching me. Like, how did this team finish 48-34?
By the way, I was talking to you about this after Game 3 because I was mad and we were, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish basketball was like soccer. In soccer, at the end of the regular season, your spot on the standings is just your spot, period.
Right.
It's not like, oh, yeah, then you play 1 week against one specific opponent and then all of a sudden your team is trash for the whole year. It's like, no. At the end of the season, if the Raptors finish like 7th in the standings and we go to Europa, people are pretty happy about this.
Well, think about the best example is the 2018 season. They finish as the #1 seed.
Yeah.
But all people remember is getting swept by the Cavs.
Yeah. Anyway, but salute to the Jazz. They really took the pressure off the Raptors.
Stock down, #1, stock down the Utah Jazz. Down 2-1 in the series against a Mavs team without Luka Doncic. Like, shouts to Jalen Brunson
and
Spencer Dinwiddie and Maxi Kleber. Like, a lot of these guys are stepping up, but come on, man. Like,
come on, man.
Come on, man.
Stand up for yourself.
No, have some pride, man. This unserious team.
They're going to be the first team not down 3-0 to say we're playing for pride.
Oh, my God. Like, I think Quinn Snyder's out of there. I don't know what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert. Like, we're watching a team just completely break up in real time.
Yo, they were benching Rudy as well. They were playing, like, offense, defense with Rudy. And I don't know, man. Like, just none of it works. None of it fits. Their perimeter defense is shameful.
Yeah. but then Rudy
shameful,
Gobert gets all the blame. But he should get blamed for certain things.
He should get blamed too. But he's the only one playing defense. In any case, everyone should get blamed there. If they could all leave Utah, I think they would.
Yeah. You know what? We're only doing stock down. No stock up or anything,
let's
okay?
go, man. Yeah.
Stock down the Milwaukee Bucks championship chances. I don't know if you agree with me on this one. So Chris Middleton.
Yo, I'm telling you, Milwaukee's been looking suspect all year, man. I know people are like, well, they're just going to turn on for the playoffs. Like you said, those definitely within one of the realms of possibilities. The other realm of possibility is they haven't played Milwaukee Bucks dominant basketball all season. And going to this team, I thought Chicago would be an easy team for them. They thought so too. They essentially tanked themselves into it. And I'm kind of mad because I'm like, yo, I thought, you know what? I do believe in Milwaukee. I don't believe in Chicago, and they still lose in that fashion. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan, stock up for sure. But like, although he was stock down first game, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's, where is their defense? Like, for real, where is their defense? That was one of the anchors of their team. Like, offensively, they're good because they have Giannis. They're really good when they can run you over. But like, if you take away some of their first options, they get really limited. Now you take away Chris Middleton, he's your secondary creator. You know what? I don't think they'll lose to Chicago in this series. I think they probably still get past them, no problem. But, like, to me, just not that impressed with Milwaukee all season. You can't just win one championship and say, oh, okay, cool, we're good now. What is that? Giannis, come to Toronto, man. You be the #1 option we need. Anyway.
Yes, so stock down. So Chris Middleton is out for a couple weeks with this MCL injury. And assuming they get past the Bulls, which I still think they're going to get past Chicago, might be a tougher series now. They're going to play Boston, presumably.
Yeah.
In the second round.
I don't think they'll get past Boston. Boston's really good.
Yeah, and Robert Williams is scheduled to come back for the Celtics in the first round, probably within the next 2 games. So, Milwaukee's got a tough path to just get to the conference finals, and assuming they're without Chris Middleton in the second round, like, you have to favor Boston, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably would have favored Boston come out of the East anyway. It's going to be Boston versus Miami in the first 2, or the conference finals, and I'm really curious to see how that goes because I think Miami does match up well with them, and I think Kyle gives them problems, but I think Boston has more talent than Miami.
Yeah. Stock down Karl Anthony Towns. So, including the play-in game, so the 4 playoff games, I think 3 out of the...
said, damn, the TSX is crashing.
But I think 3 of the 4 games he's had more fouls than free throws, than field goals, I want to say, or some ridiculous stat. But like, he's just really struggled. And he was asked at the podium yesterday after the Wolves blew 2 20-plus point leads in the same game to the Memphis Grizzlies. It's not looking good for the Nick Nurse coaching tree right now. And shouts to Chris Finch. But yeah, he was at the podium. He was asked, like, what you could have done differently. He just said, next question. Like, he didn't even want to answer it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wait, but you know what? So 2 things. Number 1, I think Karl Anthony Towns, the maturity on the decision making just has to be better. Period. Like, honestly, he stop getting into foul trouble. The same thing for Jaren Jackson on the other end. Like, come on, you guys are too important to your teams to be taking silly fouls on like reach-ins or whatever when you're already in foul trouble. Stop doing that. Okay. Second of all, like, I think for Minnesota, I want to see them have a different approach where they're not only taking threes, like, I'd actually attack the basket. It goes for Towns too. Like, Towns is so strong, he can drive inside. Like, yeah, it's probably harder than standing outside and shooting 3, but like, can you just do it eventually? You got to get some balance, especially if your 3's not working. All they do is turn the ball over and shoot 3s. And of course, they can beat a lot of teams like that, but like, you can also really blow leads like that. Not surprised to see that from Minnesota. The other part is Chris Finch part of the Nick Nurse coaching tree, or is Nick Nurse part of the Chris Finch coaching tree? Because Nick used to be his assistant until for the longest time. Chris had the better job, and then comes to the NBA. Nick got promoted. He's now the big time. And then he had Chris. It'd be like down the line, you were the host and I was the guest.
Yeah, no, I think it's already just how me and you have played out, like in media.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so Karl Anthony Towns is on the stock down report. You have any other stock downs?
Yeah, just the Denver Nuggets in general.
Yep.
It's like I feel bad for Jokic because people slander him even after really good performance. I don't know how you watched that game and came away with the conclusion Jokic is overrated. I would say defensively, yeah, you can get past him. Like for example, he was down on a lot of pull-up threes against the Warriors, or sometimes late in the game, Steph drove by him, scored the layup, and then did the little sleepy thing, which I thought was a sick celebration, right? Salute to Steph. That guy really is just
shouts to the Warriors.
He's so rude and mean. Like he's mean-spirited when he wants to beat you, but he looks so kind.
And they're just bringing him off the bench because he's on a minutes restriction.
They're really
still
just bringing him off the bench for fun. They're like, hey, it'd be cool if we brought stuff off the bench. That would make a new storyline.
They're just doing a side quest. I saw Andre Iguodala had a monster dunk yesterday.
Yeah,
but yes, I'm with you on Jokic. So he's lost his last 7 playoff games going back to last season's because they were swept by the Suns.
His second best player in all those games is Aaron Gordon, man.
Right. No, trust me.
Aaron Gordon can't even win a dunk contest.
I don't think Jokic should catch any of the slander. I saw a stat, I think, from StatMuse that in those 7 games, he hasn't had a teammate who has scored 25 points.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, but
let's say
that
free
doesn't take
Jokic,
away.
Though.
Yeah, free Jokic. But you know who I want to come to Toronto, and this will never happen?
What?
Draymond Green, man. The way I watch.
Yeah,
can you
Draymond
imagine Nick Nurse and Draymond and Scotty?
7 foot wingspan.
Yes, he would be perfect. Obviously,
he actually defends everything. Yeah,
he's never gonna move from Golden State.
No, you never will.
Man. But oh man, I look at the way he was playing defense on Jokic, and I'm just like, that's the guy.
Yeah. Well,
that's the guy, and that's what makes him so special.
I absolutely agree. He's a genius level defender. To be honest, if he wasn't out for half the year, he would be Defensive Player of the Year. Period. Because you're seeing the defense against the MVP. But having said all that, the MVP was also cooking him for a lot of the game.
Yes.
So
but this is the playoffs again. You only remember the final plays, the strip that he had on Jokic at the end of yesterday's game.
That's fair. The funny thing with Jokic in particular is nobody talks about Jokic or Denver really that much, except for these real facetious conversations that people have of oh, see, this is why he's actually a fraud because Joel Embiid should be the MVP, right? Because this and this and this. And it's come on, man. When you look at him, okay, you don't call him the MVP, that's fine. He's totally an MVP level player. He's a top 5 player in the NBA. Jokic is doing the absolute most he can with that roster, and it's just not enough for him. Plus, let's be real, the Warriors look like the best team out west. So that's actually really fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Warriors again. They're really enjoyable every night. Clay's doing his thing. Jordan Poole has now become one of the big 3 for them. They still have lots of wily veterans. And part of me, I'm just you know what? It's like when a movie comes back for a rerun, The Warriors are in the rerun period. You had The Matrix, and now you have the new version of The Matrix, which I didn't watch, but whatever. That's where they're at right now. And it's kind of fun. I feel a lot of nostalgia when I watch Steph go off and the crowd going nuts.
Yeah, but the only thing I'm excited about is Game 4 tomorrow, 2 p.m.
Can't wait.
Scotiabank Arena. So we'll be back Monday.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday to Will's mom. We're either going to come back on Monday to talk about the Raptors down 3-1, or we'll talk about the end of the season.
Great tease. So that does it for us today. I'm your host, Will Lou. You're listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. Thanks again to my producer and co-host, Alex Wong, to our guest, Sahal Abdi, our board producer, Derek Brandeo, and Jennifer Olnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I will talk to you soon.